So this is a terrible story.
It is.
Going back not that long ago about a 17-year-old student whose name cannot be mentioned due to a publication ban, pleading guilty to attempted murder. Stabbing a teacher. He's been sentenced to 2 years in custody along with 1 year of surveillance for stabbing that teacher. That teacher is Maxime Canuel, who is on the line right now. He was, at the time of the attack, teaching art at John F. Kennedy High School. First of all, Mr. Canuel, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I know this can't be easy to talk about.
No, it's all right. Thank you. I appreciate you guys letting me come on.
I want to, refer to the headline and then ask you, because this is fairly significant. You're saying that based on the fact that you've survived, thankfully, this stabbing incident, but you're thinking your teaching days might be over. Why?
Well, it's kind of, with what I went through, a lot of the details are being left out somehow, and people keep saying, I was stabbed in the chest. I was actually stabbed in the heart. And that detail just doesn't seem to come out in the media. When I went through surgery, they cut my sternum open to get to my heart, to see what the damage was. And they closed me back up, and I've got metal basically holding my sternum together. Not anymore. Obviously, it's healed, but the metal stays in there for life, So the recovery was kind of the big thing there. And, to go back to, there's a uniform, there's a dress code at our school to see 30 students in my classroom that are basically dressed like the youngster who tried to kill me. It's kind of jarring.
I bet. It sounds...
I'm just hearing you say this and thinking to myself, first of all, I'm glad that you let us know exactly what had happened here. I had not heard that, obviously. And
yeah,
it's important. It's an important detail.
I think so. Yeah, that's the big part of it. I literally, I'm astonished that I'm alive, basically, is how I'd put it, and the doctors told my wife at the time it happened, a couple of the orderlies the next day, it was a millimeter away from a big vein. So if that vein had been cut, we wouldn't be talking today.
We're both a little gobsmacked here. Thankfully, you have.
Sorry,
no.
Pretty...
No, but it's good. I mean, this is why we're having this conversation, and it's good to know that you have recovered. So I guess my question is, you've fully recovered physically, or you're on your way to recovering physically, but I guess psychologically that's not so.
Exactly. Yeah. Physically, I mean, it took a few months. Obviously, I lost a lot of weight. Had back pains and stuff. I had to sleep on my back for about 2 months straight. I mean, again, yeah, it's, I mean, how do you kind of come back from that? Yeah. I'd put it, at least, employment wise and work wise, I really did really love my job actually. But I mean, someone tried to murder me. That's kind of, it's a new experience, I guess is how I put it.
Geez, that's quite the experience to have to say is a new experience. Did you sit and talk to school administration? I'm sure they came back to you. Obviously, they're concerned and have a chat with them about what the future might look like?
They're super awesome. We've had talks. Okay. Obviously, we've met. The vice principal is actually a friend of mine. So they're just, listen, not to talk about them specifically, but, most of my coworkers are not encouraging me to go back to work, is how I'd put it.
Okay.
I don't want to necessarily relive the experience for you, as I said when we first began. I know this can't be necessarily easy to talk about, and I appreciate what happened. But for people perhaps who are not up to date or don't know how this played out, you're teaching in a class of, or you were, of how many students?
Well, what was going on at that moment precisely is it's basically like the 5-minute Passover from recess to period 2,
okay,
where the students are kind of, going to their lockers, grabbing books and stuff to go to their next class. I tend to just kind of stick or hang around right outside my classroom door, and as the kids are coming in, I kind of say hi and greet them. And basically, it came out of nowhere. I mean, it wasn't even the student that I was teaching at that time. I was looking to my left, and all of a sudden, it just felt like someone punched me in the shoulder. I looked to my right, and he was standing there, and I basically at that moment, I said, what the hell are you doing? And then I touched my shoulder, and then it was, bleeding. It was hot. So obviously, then I knew he'd stab me. I didn't know at that time that he'd stab me in the chest. I didn't feel anything there.
Maxime, we'll follow your lead. You tell us as much as you're comfortable telling us, but you said you weren't teaching the student at the time. Did you know the student? Had you had issues with that student before?
I had never had issues or altercations with that student. We knew it was a student. I kind of kept an eye on him in class, but more for I would say for the safety of the other students. I never really considered myself in that. And yeah, we'd never had any altercations. Again, speaking to the vice principal, he relayed to me that, I'm one of, if not the only teacher who never sent him to the office or filled in an incident report on him. So there was no prior issues.
Does it feel random?
I mean, to a point, because now we've gone through, all the court process and all that. I mean, his reasoning just kind of doesn't make sense, I guess is how I'd put it.
Well, what is that reasoning, as you understand it?
Sure. Basically, what he said is that I was taking absences, roll call, and he just had a tendency generally, like you would ask him a question or do roll call, he wouldn't answer you. So he was there, and I knew he was there, and he didn't answer me. And another student kind of confirmed, no, sir, he's here. And I kind of said, yeah. But I think he took it as if I had somehow said it sarcastically, and that's what apparently set him off that night. He did an internet search to try to find a gun.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that didn't work out. So from what I've heard, I haven't seen any pictures of the weapon, but it was like a potato knife. It's basically what they told me.
So after you got stabbed, when you realized you'd been stabbed, what happened next after that? Did he try to run away? What happened?
Yeah, well, like I said, kind of this all happens really quickly,
right.
But kind of as I'm grasping my shoulder, looking at him, he walked away to my right, and he kind of put his hand up. I feel like to kind of show it, the weapon. I saw it really fast, but just touching my shoulder, I already knew what it was. And basically, once I realized exactly what had happened within those few seconds, there was just this overwhelming idea of if you panic, you die. So at that point, I just made sure to slow my breathing, slow my heart rate. I had to stay calm, so I walked left towards the office. As I got to the corner, kind of the hallway, I met a teacher that I knew, and I asked her to politely call 911. Then we got to the office. I got to the office walking. They sat me down. I told them what had happened. And by a couple of minutes, the ambulance showed up. The paramedics got me. They cut my shirt off, and that's when we realized I'd been stabbed in the chest and in the heart. So
up until that time, you thought you'd only been stabbed in the shoulder?
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Sounds to me like you kind of helped save your own life.
Well, I've described it to people. It's like everything you've ever learned in your life that could help you and save your life kind of just comes back to you. I took swimming lessons and rescue swimming lessons and stuff when I was a kid, lifeguard lessons. And they teach you how to resuscitate people and how to treat a wound and, all these things. Mm-hmm. So that it was kind of almost automatic, I guess, is how I'd put it. I hadn't thought about that stuff specifically in years, but it certainly helped out in those moments.
Were the people around you obviously a lot more panicked than you seem to have been?
I don't know, how people, I just, went in my own direction kind of thing. And I'd actually forgotten one detail. The teacher across from me told me after I'd forgotten this, but as I was walking away, I told her, this student stabbed me, but she said, you said it so calmly that I thought almost that you were making a really bad joke or something, Wow.
So the thing that I find particularly heartbreaking in all this is that you said you love teaching. No, I really enjoyed it. It's when you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do and what you like to do. There's frustrations in teaching like any other job and, politics and people you get along with and others that you don't. But, I'd worked at JFK for 15 years, which is I worked my first year in Ottawa, and then the rest of my career was at JFK.
Can I ask if you have given up on this idea, and I think everyone can certainly understand why, of teaching again, what's the future look like for you?
I've just tried to, other than, going to school to teach, try to keep up my regular kind of, I guess, hobbies and ambitions. I'm generally a pretty ambitious guy. I didn't just sit around. I'm just really into a pretty strict exercise regimen when this happened, and that kind of threw a big screw into that. Yeah. But so I've gone back to that. And because I'm a visual arts teacher, I'm also an illustrator, cartoonist. So I had started during the pandemic. I'd kind of taken the opportunity with the extra bit of free time that we'd had, to start up a comic book, and I've been just working and putting more hours into that.
I saw some of the drawings. They're absolutely beautiful. And I mean, I certainly hope that that's been a good outlet for you. And somehow, I don't know, I mean, it has to be up to you, obviously, but I hope you find your way back to being able to teach again. Because if you love teaching, you were probably an amazing teacher. But you have to do that at your own pace.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very nice.
Someone's asking, and I don't know if it's a fair question to ask you, Manuel, but Maxime, someone's asking, why was this student allowed to be there in the first place? Obviously, there had been a history, right? You mentioned that during the past couple of minutes.
Good point.
Listen, it's very complicated when it comes to these kind of situations with special needs and autism, psychological problems. If we notice something at the schools, right, we have to then contact the parents, and the parents have to be on board for these kind of things, right? And some of them are, and some of them aren't, right? Sometimes there's a cultural barrier, right, from students whose parents come from another country. Maybe, they don't understand exactly what this means and that there's help available for those kinds of situations. So I think it's just one of those situations where he was, things were happening in schools and he was being moved around,
Okay.
I'm so glad you're telling. We are so glad you're telling your story. I just want to mention quickly. So the comic book is called Big Baby, and I understand another edition is going to be out shortly. Issue 9.
Yeah, it's actually sitting right in front of me here.
Cool.
I'm working on some of the pages, for the next issue, which is out, hopefully, if everything goes right, December 9th. Okay. But the plan is a bit before Christmas.
And where can people find that?
They can contact me directly through Facebook, Max Rex. They can find me on Instagram, MaximusRex13. And also they can just do a search on Google or Facebook for Big Baby, and just specifically BIGG, baby.
Okay.
And it should be pretty easy to find.
We're going to let you go because we're out of time. I just want to read you a text that came in right now and maybe have you react. It says, as a high school teacher who retired a year ago after 33 years of teaching, this story really touches me. We are the last to know who's sitting in front of us in a classroom. Many kids are troubled. We don't know what will trigger them. It's scary.
Yeah, I think that applies here. That I definitely appreciate that comment. That makes a lot of sense.
All right.
We're rooting for you.
Maxime, thank you so much, and best of luck to you. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.